Every family has a mystery.
Everyone's got their own version, their own story.
I have thought about this my entire life.
And I've asked New Zealanders to bring me theirs.
There's all these different theories.
Starting with a clue
We found some artefacts.
that opens a can of worms.
We believe my grandmother was a spy.
You haven't given me a lot to work with, I'm going to be honest.
I work with a team of experts,
It's signed in pencil. Stop it, it is.
dig into the archives,
So I've got a recording of him.
My grandfather was a quarter Negro.
and explore every possible angle
They were relocating Nazi war criminals.
They were right.
to uncover the hidden story
Cool. Finally see you.
and ultimately solve mysteries that cross the globe and span generations.
I'm trying to be quite mindful of my relatives and how they might feel should we find out anything a bit unusual. In the period of time we're talking, people move very discreetly. Little bits and pieces have come up over the years, makes us think there's so much we don't know. The items I brought in today do raise a few questions. I believe there's potentially some secrets there.
Hello, Tracy.
Yes, that's me.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What have you brought for me?
A photograph.
Wow.
So it's a photograph of my great-grandmother, Ethel James Wickens.
Very smart woman.
They were indeed. This is her here.
Yeah.
So this is in Lambton Quay, just before Willis Street.
Who's the person with her?
I only know her as Lowry. Now, I don't know if that's her first name or her surname.
Sounds like a surname. Eh?
Sounds more like a surname. We know very little about her, but a little intrigued around that as well.
Well, I'm intrigued about what the mystery is.
Okay, well, I want to know about my great-grandmother. What was her life in Wellington as a businesswoman? And she left her children with her parents and went off to Wellington to pursue her career as a concert pianist.
Wow.
It doesn't sound as though she actually achieved the concert pianist status.
Yeah.
But we don't actually know.
She didn't go back to her
No.
children? Okay.
And we know very little about her time in Wellington. So there's some interesting things around her, I believe.
Interesting things. What have you heard?
Okay, she ran several boarding houses and there's a little bit of talk around one of them maybe being a bordello.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Is a bordello like a brothel?
Yes.
Oh, good. I took a stab at that one. I
Yeah,
got it right.
it is indeed.
Oh, well, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
So quite a colourful character, potentially.
Yes. And I have often wondered what was their relationship.
What was your great-grandmother's relationship with...
with Lowry. I just wonder, were they actually a couple, perhaps? I mean, we just don't know anything about her. Apparently this was her steadfast person.
And if that was the case, it wouldn't have been broadcast openly.
No.
What era are we talking?
This is probably the 30s.
Right. And I can see why you want to find this out because, I mean, I would as well. Like, that's a colourful character
Yeah.
that you're a descendant of.
Yeah, I mean, it's just about understanding people's journey at the end of the day. It's not putting judgments on them.
Yeah. Okay, so the mystery is, was your great-grandmother a closeted lesbian who ran a brothel?
Yeah,
That's it?
that's it. It's unusual for a woman to divorce your husband, leave your children behind, and then go off and do something on your own. What drove that? That's not something people did in those days. It's also about who am I, because my great-grandmother is a part of me also. and I'd be quite proud to know.
I'm keen to uncover what I can about Tracy's enigmatic great-grandmother, Ethel. The thing is, both parts of this mystery were the kinds of things people kept under wraps in the 1930s. But since a relationship may have been easier to hide than business dealings, I'm going to start with this so-called bordello. And I'm going straight to the source. It's clear that when Ethel, the hopeful concert pianist, got to Wellington, she ran boarding houses. But there's a question about one house in particular. 335 Willis Street. It's also known as Dransfield House. It's an iconic building, and it already has a well-known history. But was it a brothel?
So these are the stacks.
I've made a timid inquiry with the Wellington City Archives. It feels a little odd asking about a brothel at a place of public record, but they've allowed me to see what's on file. So I'll tread carefully and look for clues.
Thousands of records here. Amongst them, were you able to find anything on Ethel or 335 Willis Street?
Actually, we were. Luckily, Ethel leased the building off the Wellington City Council, so we actually have a record of it.
Really?
Yeah. So I've pulled out, this is a Town Clerk's Department file, and this is from the City Solicitor's Office. As far as we can tell, she was leasing the building from the mid-1930s through to her death in 1950.
It's that long, 15 years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When Ethel died, there was a bit of consternation within the council about whether the lease should continue or whether they should do something with the building. So as part of that, they did an inventory of all of the fittings and furniture in the building, which is slightly unusual, but it also gives us the name of the owners of the tenants.
Gosh, this is detailed, isn't it? Who knows what clues are in here? You know what's interesting? She came to Wellington to pursue a career as a pianist.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Tracy believed, but I am not seeing anywhere here
Not a lot of
any
pianos
evidence
there. No.
of a piano. And if they're going to itemise the dinner wagon, they're going to itemise the piano.
You would have thought so. The lease was managed by Ethel, and it was broken up into 5 different apartments. So she lived in a room at the front, and then she leased out the 5 apartments to different tenants.
Okay. So this is interesting. We have the surnames of the tenants.
Yeah. So there was a flat occupied by Mrs. Edwards, Mrs. Duffy. Upstairs flat was Mrs. Young. Mrs. Owen was at the back flat, and Mr. Scoble was the final tenant.
So all bar one were women?
Yes.
So we're talking 1930s, 1940s Wellington.
Yeah.
What do you know about brothels at that time? Am I stretching
So the
here?
usual question that we get asked here at Archives. To be honest, I'm quite ignorant about brothels, I have to admit. We knew they existed. In council files, occasionally complaints come up about people using them or neighbours complaining about the noise and the comings and goings in the middle of the night. But in this case, we haven't found anything on the property files relating to 335 Willis Street.
So in your experience, if this was a brothel or bordello, there would be a complaint?
Yes, I think based on the correspondence and the way council worked, if it had been used like that, someone probably would have complained at some point and we would have found something.
Okay. That's really interesting.
Yeah. But I don't know, you could speculate. Because this document would have been created just so they could itemise the different furniture that was there, so it's not telling us who they were, what they did, their background, that sort of thing. So it's interesting, there were 5 flats and 4 of them were occupied by women. So who knows if there was a truth to the rumours.
I'm working on the mystery of Tracy's great-grandmother, Ethel. Supposedly, she abandoned her 3 children to pursue a career in Wellington as a concert pianist. Along the way, she ran a brothel and formed a relationship with a mystery woman known only to us as Lowry. A look into the archives didn't bring up hard proof of a brothel, and come to think of it, there was nothing about Lowry either. I'll be honest, I'm pretty naive about 1940s lesbian relationships. So I've come to Otago University to meet with Chris, a professor in the Department of Sociology and Gender Studies. I'm also quietly wondering, am I missing some kind of clue in the photo of Ethel and Lowry together?
So generally in terms of women, no one knew an awful lot. Partly this was because sex between women was not illegal. It had never been illegal in New Zealand. Also because people didn't talk as much about women's sexuality in general as they talked about men's.
Interesting. Our story is based around this lovely woman. Yeah. This is Tracy's great-grandmother, Ethel. So this picture was taken around 1940.
Yep.
And looking at this picture, is there anything to suggest that Ethel and this is Lowry were in a lesbian relationship?
It is tantalising. Street photographers did often photograph couples as they walk down the street. So this is a classic kind of street photographer capturing 2 women who may have been together. But we will never know. And in this sense, I guess the other question is, we won't know whether Ethel ever identified as a lesbian or not, even if she lived a woman-centred life. And so there's that difference between having an identity and living a life, right? And the 2 things don't necessarily match up.
Yeah.
She may have seen the other woman as a special friend, for instance, but not seen her as a partner or a lover. So there are lots of different ways that she may have imagined her own sense of self or may not.
Yeah,
it's really hard to
really
see, right, if
interesting
someone doesn't say.
way of looking at it, yeah.
It's quite interesting to have a bit of a think. We often look back, particularly at the wartime period, and we imagine that everyone was straight, like that's the default kind of thing. So there's something quite powerful about thinking about what if the world was more complicated and diverse and interesting in a past which is so often portrayed as very heterosexual. So I think it's quite complicated and quite intriguing.
Yeah. This has been fascinating. I've learned so much from you. And I think what you're saying is essentially we won't know, and that's okay.
Know, and that's okay. But it's okay for us to be interested too.
Chris has left this part of the mystery in an intriguing place. And if it's ultimately unknowable, we may just have to be happy with that. But once again, we're left without concrete answers. It's time to hand everything I know over to genealogist Fiona. She's managed to find the unfindable for me before. I've still got so many questions. Who was Lowry? Why did Ethel abandon her kids? And of course, what about this brothel? Is the clue to all this in one of the tenants' names we found? A few days later, Fiona wants to catch up. I'm hoping this time we've got some answers.
So we were able to actually work out who Lowry was. So her name is Elsie Margarita Lowry, L-A-U-R-I-E.
Oh, okay.
She was a young widow. Her husband had died of the influenza from the 1918 flu, and they hadn't been married that long before he died. But his death meant that she was left comfortably well off.
She moved to Wellington in the late 1930s, and she was a piano teacher.
Oh, okay.
So there's our piano
connection.
part coming in. And she was living just down the road from Ethel. She's in Willis Street as well. She never remarried, she never had children, and she eventually moved to Auckland where she died. So,
And have you found anything on the two of them having a connection?
not
Anything
at this
that
stage.
brings them together? Okay. And what about Ethel's past, Tracy's great-grandmother?
I have actually found some information about Ethel. When I looked at the 1928 electoral roll, she's living in Featherston, as we would expect, and she's living with her husband Albert. But what's also interesting about those electoral rolls is that her children are showing in the electoral rolls in 1928 as well.
What?
So the older children have already grown up and left the nest as such.
Okay, that wasn't how I had... my understanding was that the kids had all been really little.
Yeah, no, these are adult children.
Because the whole issue was she's leaving her little children. Like, who does that? You have to have a good reason. If two of them are old enough to vote, essentially,
They are.
you're not really leaving your kids, are you?
No, this is starting to sort of turn it around on its head a little bit.
Yeah, not nearly as dramatic as leaving 3 little kids.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
But what's really strange, when I was looking at this house and I found the photo of it, I thought, I've seen this house before. I know who one of the tenants was.
Wow, okay, which one?
So
Tell me.
I know about a gentleman called Percy Scoble.
He was the only gentleman that was listed there.
There you go.
Okay.
So Percy, he is big in newspapers.
Fiona's uncovered so much more than I expected.
335 Willis Street,
Not only has she completely flipped the narrative of Ethel's story,
1938.
but by pure coincidence,
I had traced Percy for another client.
she's found the truth about our alleged brothel.
Wow. There you go. How often does this happen for you?
It's really quite unusual.
I can't wait to tell Tracy what we've found. I'm taking Tracy to 335 Willis Street. It's the boarding house at the centre of the mystery of her great-grandmother Ethel. It was here Ethel supposedly ran a brothel after abandoning her children for a concert pianist career in Wellington. After a fascinating dip into the archives and the hard work of our genealogist, I have some revelations to share.
So, Tracy, here we are. This property was your great-grandmother Ethel's livelihood in the 1930s and 1940s.
That's right.
It gives me a better understanding of why this story is so important to you, because this is your history too.
It is indeed, and,
Yeah.
and history of the generations that will come after me.
Yeah, and to get it right.
Yes.
As right as we can.
Yeah.
So you came to me with 2 main questions. One was, did Ethel, your great-grandmother,
Yeah.
run this place as a brothel? And was she potentially in a relationship with her friend Lowry?
Yeah.
Before we go there, I want to just go back a little bit to before she came to Wellington.
Yes.
She was in Featherston. Now, your understanding was that she left her 3 young children, left her husband and came to Wellington, yes?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so Ethel leaves Featherston in around 1929. Her husband was in financial trouble
Yes.
with the courts, and her children were grown up.
Oh, okay.
They were registered on the electoral roll at that time. You had to be 21.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, and they were living in Wellington.
Wow.
So it's likely, or it would seem, that she maybe followed her kids to Wellington.
Wow. That's so different from what was shared with me
Yeah.
and what I've got in my mind. We were quite surprised that she had left her children, so it's wonderful to hear that it's not the case at all.
Yes, I think it is wonderful. So she comes to Wellington, establishes this long-standing friendship with Lowry. So her name was Elsie Lowry.
Yes.
She was a widow.
Okay.
A young widow. She never married again, didn't have any children. And Elsie Lowry was a piano teacher.
Wow, that's the connection.
Yeah. Now, we have no evidence that Ethel was in a lesbian relationship. We'll never know. Does it matter?
No.
Not really. And
Not at all.
I know to you that doesn't matter. And I guess, particularly at that time, you know, how someone identified in regards to sexuality is a really personal thing.
Absolutely.
So it looks like her and Lowry, at least, were just really good mates.
Wow, isn't that cool?
Yeah. Now, I went to the council and I got a list of the inventory of this property, all the details you could want. And it actually itemises who was in which room.
Wow.
They go to such detail, it's fascinating. There's a Mr. Scoble who paid £3 a week. He rented a room from the late 1930s to 1960s, so quite a long time.
Yes.
We were able to find out quite a bit about this Mr. Scoble. So I want to come back to the rumour about this place being a bordello. And one of the things that points towards that not being the case is that Mr. Scoble was managing director of the Dominion newspaper.
Well, I didn't know that.
He had a really high position, and it would be very difficult for the managing director of the Dominion to be found out to be living in a brothel.
Yes.
So, based on the evidence, despite all the rumours, I think we can confidently say that your great-grandmother Ethel was not running this property as a brothel.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. And I have one final thing that surprised me, especially from a woman who supposedly abandoned her kids. I want to show you Ethel's will. Not seen that?
No.
Oh.
I wonder if my mum has even.
As you can see here, her estate is shared between her 3 children, and the amount she left was the equivalent today of $450,000.
Wow.
This is again evidence that she was a successful businesswoman and the relationship with her children was good, that she hadn't lost contact with them. Now,
That's great to hear.
it is.
Yeah. I think it would be wonderful for the family to know that. It's a big deal, really.
Yeah. A lot of people these days want to know more about who their ancestors were, where they came from, and being able to see someone in your past that has been courageous and taken risks and survived. It's like your armour, you know? Like
It's our DNA.
Yeah,
It's in our DNA. And to be able to identify traits within myself that I, you know, to see where they come from.
Yeah.
And those strengths as a woman. It's nice to know where that kaha comes from.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the central point of the story, is that your great-grandmother Ethel, she forged her own path. She didn't abandon her children, you know. She was a successful businesswoman, and I think you can be really proud to call yourself her great-granddaughter.
Super proud, super proud.
Tracy's gone on to set the record straight to her family. They were all delighted to hear the real story of Ethel Jane Wickens.
So this is something that's been a topic of discussion within our family since I was quite young, but the mystery itself is about 150 years old, and I've always wondered about it. My father always felt very uneasy about this topic. It is part of our family history that potentially has always concerned him. It's such a horrific but fascinating story. My father always felt very uneasy about this topic. It's such a horrific but fascinating story.
Hello, you must be
Hi.
Catherine.
Yes.
Welcome. What have you got for me?
So, this is a photograph of my great-grandfather, Henry James Hardy. And he was born in a little town in New South Wales in 1871.
Hey, very handsome man.
Yeah, the moustache is really cool. This was his mother, Elizabeth Hardy, and she gave birth to him out of wedlock when she was a teenager. And the family, even since her day, has never known who the father was. That's part of the mystery.
Oh, okay.
The rest of it is that 2 years later, after he was born, Elizabeth married this man, Robert John Stewart Robertson, who was a notorious criminal. Like, the list of his crimes are endless. One of the crimes was that he was a bigamist multiple times. At one stage, he posed as a surgeon. He faked his medical degrees and he opened up medical surgery and escalated the deaths of many patients. They were the words that were used in a court case. In our day, we might call him a serial killer.
Oh my goodness, Catherine.
There have been rumours ever since those days he may have been the father. So what we'd really like to know, once and for all, is if we're descended from this criminal.
So if he was related to you and you are essentially a descendant of a serial killer, how would you feel?
The thing is, I'm hoping that he wasn't our great-great-grandfather. I mean, he sounds like he was an awful person, but in a way it's kind of interesting. I kind of think of Robert John Stewart Robertson as a character from like a Victorian period drama.
Yeah, I can see exactly where you're coming from. I mean, that's what it is to me, but I'm not the family, and it's your family.
Well, my father has always feared that it might have been this person, but I've always wanted to know.
So what you want me to find out is whether you are the descendant of a serial killer.
Essentially, yes. The answer to this mystery might be a bit disturbing to myself and to other members of the family, but I'm hoping that at least it gives us some answers.
I can understand Catherine's fascination with this Australian colonial-era criminal. And it's a strange thing to consider. Would you want to be related to an historical serial killer? It's interesting. Looking at what I can find for Dr. Robertson, or sometimes Robinson, yes, he was put on trial for accelerating the deaths of his patients, but he was never actually convicted. But there's no denying the list of his crimes is long. And what's also certain is that for just 6 weeks, he was married to Catherine's great-great-grandmother Elizabeth. Before it was revealed, he was already married and was sent to prison for bigamy, never to see her again. However, the biggest question remains: is Catherine a descendant of this colourful character? Elizabeth's son Henry was already 2 years old when she married Robert, but his father's never been identified. I've asked genealogist Michelle to have a look.
The background of Mr. Robertson, Robert's pick a name, is varied, right? And you can trace him because he's done so many interesting things, for the want of a much better word. There's documents all over the place and newspaper reports and all sorts of things. So we built a timeline from all the court cases. We needed to do all sorts of things, including looking at a map. So I just wanted to show you to get some perspective.
I'm glad you brought a map.
Because it's hard to imagine, but this is Sydney right down here.
Okay.
This is where Wingham is, just inside from Port Macquarie. Elizabeth's up here. It's a very interesting early pioneer area, but it was reasonably isolated. So it wasn't something you just walked down the street and hopped on a train or a coach and got there easily. But on top of it, our mystery serial killer, whatever we want to call Mr. Robertson, he's out here. But there's significant bush country that you're not going to get across. You can even see today, there are no roads that take you from here to here. You actually have to go right out to the coast and up. So in terms of time frame, he's in Sydney and then out to Goolgong. I don't see him of coming. He's done a deed down here after conception and gone back out here. It just doesn't kind of line up.
Right. Elizabeth could have travelled.
Really unlikely when you look at the time frame and what her position and her age was.
She's a teenager.
Yeah.
She's not moving around a lot. Okay. So, geographically, there's nothing pointing to the fact that Robert and Elizabeth were in the same town at the time of Henry Hardy's conception.
Yeah, there's no evidence to put it together.
Okay, but that's not a definitive answer.
No. So we need to look for more evidence, and that would be DNA.
Specifically, we need DNA from someone we know is a descendant of Robert Robertson to compare with Catherine's DNA. So while Michelle hunts for a candidate, I want answers to some questions about Robert Robertson. So I'm going to one of the many scenes of his crimes, Sydney, Australia. I've got to admit, this guy Robert has captured my imagination, like he has Catherine's. I've invited her to join me in Sydney to learn more about the man that married her great-great-grandmother, and she'll be arriving here soon. But first, the burning question I have is, how sure can we be that Robert was a serial killer? He was a criminal, sure, but wasn't colonial Australia a lawless time anyway? I think Dr. Alana Piper will be the one to give me a clue. Something that struck me was this long list of crimes. I mean, it was quite crazy. I'd never seen anything like it.
Certainly, yeah, I think the colonial conditions allowed for that sort of adventurism, you know, that career of fraudster to get by on a bit of charm and pretense. In a way, Robinson is an anomaly in the sort of seriousness of the crimes that he is facing, that they are indictable offences that carried heavy prison terms.
Yeah. So Robert Robertson went to jail for what we would think of as lesser crimes these days, but some of his more major crimes like assault and accelerating death and possibly murder, he never was incarcerated for them. So can you explain how that could have been the case?
Yeah, so even back then, you know, juries wanted more than circumstantial evidence. They want eyewitness accounts, perhaps an accomplice to give testimony against him. So in the absence of those corroboratory forms of evidence, it would have been really hard to get a jury to convict.
Knowing Robert Robertson's history, do you think it's likely that he actually committed even more serious crimes that he just wasn't caught for?
Yeah, well, certainly we know that you know, there's a huge amount of like undetected, unreported, even in some cases, crimes that went on historically as they do today. The evidence just might not be there, victims go undetected or don't come forward. And so, particularly given that we know that he was routinely breaking the law, once you have sort of crossed those boundaries, you know, it gets easier to across it again and again, so you have to wonder.
Yeah. So chances are, Dr. Robertson's criminal record was just the tip of the iceberg. Maybe Catherine's great-great-grandmother was lucky to only fall victim to one of his milder crimes. But as for whether Catherine's genetically connected, well, she's just arrived in Sydney, and as I'm off to meet her, Michelle texts me. Looks like I'm about to get the answer to Catherine's mystery. Catherine came to me wanting to know whether her great-great-grandfather was Australian criminal and alleged serial killer Robert Robertson. The journey to find out has taken us both to Sydney. This is where Robert spent many years in prison. Catherine's own father feared being a descendant of Robert, but Catherine's always felt a strong connection to the criminal who married her great-great-grandmother. I'm about to reveal the fresh DNA evidence that solves this mystery. But first, I want to give Catherine an insight into the harsher parts of Robert's life.
So you are probably wondering why we're here, why I brought you to Cockatoo Island. Well, I wanted to show you the kind of conditions that Robert Robertson would have endured when he was in jail in the 1800s. And this place was a jail between 1839 and 1869. I have a guide that can show us around. Yeah, you keen to have a look?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Wow.
This is where the male convicts slept at night time. We believe there were between 80 and 90 men in this small area. They had 2 levels of sleeping planks and they were in here under cover of darkness. Buckets all the way down the centre to use as a toilet. It absolutely stank in here. In the winter, it was cold, it was wet, it was damp, and it was very, very substandard, but really unhumane. So what we've got here are 2 solitary confinement pits, one behind the other, where convicts would be put for up to 28 days. For trying to escape, for brawling, meant to break your spirit, meant to make you do the right thing and behave yourself. This was absolutely horrendous.
That sounds terrible. And it's interesting because looking through Robert Robertson's criminal history, it looks like he spent time in solitary confinement.
Wow.
At a jail in Sydney at the same time, so that's the kind of conditions.
Yeah,
horrendous.
It would have been awful.
Yeah.
Near the end of his turbulent life, Robert was committed to a psychiatric institution in Parramatta. It was there, aged 75, that he died. It wasn't a noble end to his story, but then Robert's life wasn't so noble to begin with. But regardless, he's a character that will always be linked to Catherine's ancestors. She's just never known whether that link went as far as to be genetic. Until now. So that was Cockatoo Island. Quite an experience. Tell me what you're feeling.
I felt a bit emotional about it.
Oh, Catherine. This is a really important story to you, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can see that.
Well, it's just always been a story in our family. We've never really known who my grandfather's grandfather was. And it was discussed a lot when I was a child. But it wasn't until I was an adult that I found out about Robert Robertson. And I don't really have any answers, and that's why I was wanting to know.
It's been fascinating researching this guy. What we wanted to establish was whether your great-great-grandmother, Elizabeth Hardy, and Robert Robertson were in the same area at the approximate time that Henry, your great-grandfather, was conceived.
Yes.
What it looks like is that they were actually in towns 450 miles apart. You know, in these days, that's a flight, but there wasn't even a road connecting those. It wasn't even sort of a horse and carriage situation. Of course, that's not definitive. So we went to DNA, and you kindly gave your DNA.
Yeah.
Robert Robertson is of Belgian descent.
Right.
So you'd expect to see certain characteristics in a DNA profile.
Yeah.
We were able to find a woman called Carolyn who definitely is a descendant of Robert Robertson, and we were able to compare your DNA. She has Germanic in her profile, so we would expect to see the same in yours.
Yeah.
Yours is England, a bit of Irish, bit of Scottish.
Welsh.
Yeah, not the Germanic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, I guess, is that I can pretty definitively say that you are not biologically connected to Robert Robertson.
I thought about how I'd feel if he was or if he wasn't.
Yeah.
And honestly, I still can't come to grips with how I feel. Even though it was always hoped that we weren't descended from him, and my father particularly was hoping that we weren't descended from him, for some reason I've become, in a way, attached to his story.
Yeah, and therefore attached to him.
Yeah, you can look back at history and look at reasons why people were the way they were, you know. As you say, coming to a place like this, getting a feeling of what these people went through, it gives you a little bit more empathy. So I am pleased in a way, and I suppose it's just always going to be a mystery. We're just never going to know who my ancestor was.
It might be possible to find that out. It would take a lot more work and tests. One thing I can tell you is you are not biologically related to a serial killer. And I think, Catherine, your dad would be really pleased to hear that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's just why I've been so fascinated with the whole thing, is just because it's unbelievable. And yet it was real life.
It was real life.
Yeah.
It's there in black and white.
Yeah.
Catherine, thank you for bringing me this fascinating story of Robert John Stewart Robertson. As someone who loves true crime, this has been the most amazing ride.
Yeah, I've absolutely loved it. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
The truth of this true crime tale was indeed a relief for Catherine's family. But even with this chapter closed, the story of Dr. Robert Robertson is one Catherine still can't help but come back to every now and then. Next time.
Whoa. This is a story, isn't it?
Our most intriguing mystery yet.
They were relocating Nazi war criminals.
That's haunted a family for generations.
It was the time when the blackmailing started.
A mother's darkest secrets.
If ever you receive this, you will know me to be dead.
And a daughter who could never let it go.
How can a mother not love her little girl?